Leo, September 2026 becomes a month when your familiar ideas about your own potential, finances, and future direction begin to shift. After the powerful developments of August, it's time to turn fresh inspiration into practical decisions and determine where your time, energy, and resources will create the greatest long-term value. The central theme of the month is building a stronger foundation for your future through knowledge, financial decisions, and a changing system of personal values. The new moon on September 11th falls in Virgo and your second house, opening an entirely new cycle connected with income, finances, professional skills, and your sense of self-worth. September can become the starting point for a new job, a different compensation structure, the growth of your own business, or the search for additional income streams. The full moon on September 26 occurs in Aries and your ninth house, bringing an important chapter involving education, travel, legal matters, documentation, publishing, or your worldview to completion. You may finish a course of study, finalize important paperwork, take a significant journey, or gain complete clarity about the direction you want your future to take. These two lunar events are deeply connected. New financial opportunities emerge because of new knowledge, professional growth, and your willingness to step beyond familiar limitations. September shows that long-term financial security depends not only on past experience, but increasingly on your ability to keep learning, broaden your horizons, and develop new skills. The new lunar node cycle also continues to unfold. Gradually, more emphasis shifts toward your personal fulfillment, creativity, romance, children, and individual projects. At the same time, you're completing a period during which too much depended on group dynamics, public opinion, or trying to meet everyone else's expectations. One of the most important themes of September involves Venus, which has already entered the area of its upcoming retrograde shadow. Throughout the month, your financial priorities, spending habits, educational interests, travel plans, and approach to personal growth begin to evolve. However, many of September's decisions will continue developing and receive important revisions once Venus eventually turns retrograde. Until September 10th, Venus remains in Libra and your third house. This part of the month favors learning, communication, paperwork, short trips, negotiations, and meeting new people. You may discover an exciting course, begin discussing a publication, start planning a collaborative project, or have a conversation that later proves far more important than it initially appears. After September 10th, Venus moves into Scorpio and your fourth house. Gradually, family, home, real estate, and emotional security become more prominent on your mind. And emotional security become much more significant. You may begin discussing a move, home renovations, purchasing property, or family-related matters. Others may realize that before continuing to grow outwardly, they first need to establish a stronger emotional and material foundation. Until September 23rd, the Sun continues traveling through Virgo and your second house. The first half of the month is ideal for setting practical financial goals, reviewing expenses, reorganizing your budget, and taking an honest look at your professional strengths. After the Sun enters Libra, your attention naturally shifts into the third house. Life becomes busier with conversations, meetings, negotiations, learning opportunities, travel, and information exchange. More and more, your future opportunities begin arriving through communication, new knowledge, and sharing your experience with others. Your ruling planet, the Sun, seems to guide you through two interconnected themes this month. First, you strengthen your financial foundation. Then you realize that future growth isn't possible without expanding your knowledge, meeting new people, and remaining committed to lifelong learning. The deeper message of September for Leo is learning how to unite personal growth with tangible life changes. Jupiter has already opened exciting new possibilities for you, but September reminds you that sustainable success requires a solid financial base, continuous education, and the willingness to rethink what you believe you're capable of. The new moon launches a new financial chapter. The full moon completes an important period of exploration and helps define the direction you're meant to follow next. Venus gradually reshapes your relationship with home, family, and personal values. Mars prepares you for a powerful new phase of action that begins at the very end of the month. This is not the time to chase immediate results. Instead, build a foundation strong enough to support every opportunity that's beginning to unfold over the months ahead. Now let's look at the month day by day. September 1st. Mars in Cancer in your 12th house forms a square to retrograde Saturn in Aries and your 9th house. The beginning of September may reveal that some plans require more time than expected. Matters involving education, paperwork, travel, publishing, or legal issues may experience temporary delays or require additional preparation. Mars in the 12th house rarely favors direct confrontation. Instead, this energy encourages you to finish unfinished business, resolve lingering issues, and rethink your strategy before moving into the next chapter. You may realize that slowing down now and removing internal or organizational obstacles will serve you much better than trying to force progress. Mercury in Virgo in your second house forms a harmonious sextile to Mars. This aspect helps you find practical solutions to financial concerns. There may be conversations about income, project payments, pricing your services, or organizing your budget. It's an excellent time for financial planning, budgeting, negotiating work conditions, preparing contracts, and organizing important documents. The opening days of September show that thoughtful organization will accomplish far more than rushing the process. September 6th through 9th, Venus continues moving through Libra and your third house, gradually forming meaningful aspects with the lunar nodes, Lilith and Selena. Communication, education, paperwork, travel, and new connections become major themes. An interesting proposal may appear. You might discover a course, begin an educational collaboration, or revisit negotiations that seemed finished months ago. You may also reopen discussions that were postponed earlier this summer. On September 8th, Venus forms a trine to the North Node in Aquarius in your 7th house, while simultaneously forming a sextile to the South Node in your 1st house. For you, this aspect connects conversations and personal decisions directly with relationships and partnerships. A meeting or discussion could change the direction of an important relationship. This may become the beginning of a meaningful collaboration or introduce someone who significantly influences your future. If you've spent recent months trying to handle everything alone, September demonstrates the real strength that comes through partnership. On September 9th, Venus forms a sextile to White Moon Selena in Sagittarius and your 5th house. A conversation may revolve around a child, a creative project, a romantic relationship, or your personal dreams. However, it's especially important not to promise more than you can realistically deliver. If a new opportunity appears almost too good to be true, take time to understand every detail before making commitments. September 10th, Venus enters Scorpio and your 4th house. After several weeks focused on communication and external activity, your attention gradually shifts toward home, family, and creating a stronger sense of emotional security. You may feel inspired to spend more time at home, renovate your living space, relocate, or have serious conversations about family matters. You could begin searching for a new home, exploring a move, or making a decision that influences the overall structure of your life. However, remember that Venus is already traveling through the future retrograde shadow. This means matters involving home, family, and real estate will continue developing throughout the coming months, and will likely return for review later this fall. On the same day, Venus forms an opposition to retrograde Chiron in Aries and your 9th house. Your desire to build a stronger home base may come into conflict with educational goals, travel plans, legal matters, relocation, or long-term aspirations. You may find yourself choosing between familiar stability and the opportunity to begin an entirely new chapter. This aspect makes it clear that future growth requires stepping beyond your comfort zone. Also on September 10th, Mercury enters Libra and your 3rd house. A highly active period begins for negotiations, contracts, learning, travel, networking, and communication. Your schedule may quickly fill with meetings, phone calls, emails, discussions, and short trips. This is an excellent time for teaching, consulting, writing, publishing, completing paperwork, and any work that relies on communication and intellectual skills. That same day, Uranus stations retrograde in Gemini and your 11th house. Questions involving friendships, group projects, organizations, and long-term goals return for review. The dynamics within a team may unexpectedly change. Collaborative plans could shift direction. You may also realize that certain friendships have fulfilled their purpose, while exciting new opportunities begin appearing through an entirely different social circle. September 11th, New Moon in Virgo in your 2nd house. This new moon opens an entirely new financial cycle involving income, professional skills, and personal worth. September becomes the launching point for meaningful financial change. A new job opportunity may appear. You could discover an additional income source, develop a business idea, or decide to change your pricing structure. You may choose to raise your rates, learn an entirely new profession, or invest in education that strengthens your future earning potential. Because this new moon takes place in practical Virgo, it asks an important question. Not simply how much money you want to earn, but what knowledge, skills, and consistent actions will actually create that income. The events unfolding during the middle of September begin shaping a financial cycle that continues expanding over the coming months. September 12th, Mercury in Libra and your 3rd house forms a trine to Pluto in Aquarius in your 7th house, while also opposing Neptune in Aries in your 9th house. One conversation has the potential to change your future direction. Important information may arrive that helps you see a partnership, contract, legal issue, or collaborative opportunity from an entirely new perspective. Mercury's trine to Pluto supports meaningful negotiations. It's an excellent day to discuss contract terms, clarify responsibilities, resolve long-standing uncertainty, or strengthen an important business relationship. Consultations, business meetings, and conversations that require compromise become especially productive. However, Mercury's opposition to Neptune asks you to verify every detail carefully. If documents, education, travel, or international matters are involved, don't rely solely on promises or assumptions. It's far better to clarify details now than correct misunderstandings later. In your personal life, this aspect also reveals whether your vision for the future truly aligns with another person's plans. September 14th, Mercury in your third house forms a trine to retrograde Uranus in your 11th house. Unexpected news may completely reshape your plans for the coming weeks. You could receive an invitation to collaborate, speak publicly, teach, or connect with a completely new audience. If you run your own business or personal brand, this day may introduce an influential connection or an innovative marketing idea. It's an excellent time to discuss group initiatives, seek new partnerships, and embrace modern technology to expand your work. Also on September 14th, Black Moon Lilith enters Capricorn and your 6th house. Over the coming months, your work environment, daily routine, and health deserve closer attention. Be careful not to take on more responsibilities than you can realistically manage. Trying to control every detail may lead to burnout much faster than the workload itself. September 15th, Venus in Scorpio and your 4th house forms a square to retrograde Pluto in Aquarius and your 7th house. Home, family, and relationships become deeply intertwined. You may need to make an important decision about living together, relocating, or dividing family responsibilities. Or perhaps you'll recognize that a relationship can no longer continue under its old rules. If you've postponed an important conversation with your partner or family members, the middle of September brings it directly into focus. Family circumstances may completely change how you view a relationship, or developments within your personal life may trigger significant changes at home. Pluto reveals the deeper emotional motivations beneath external events. Rather than fighting circumstances, ask yourself what deeper need is driving your desire for change. This is not the time to rush final decisions. Remember, Venus has only just entered its retrograde shadow, meaning questions involving home, relationships, and family values will continue unfolding throughout the fall. Still, mid-September provides enough clarity to show which changes are becoming unavoidable, and what truly deserves your attention. September 18th, Chiron returns to Aries and your 9th house. Themes involving education, professional development, publishing, travel, and discovering your life direction once again become important. A question that first appeared earlier this spring or summer may now return for final review. This could involve higher education, certification, important paperwork, an international project, or preparing for a major journey. On the same day, Mercury in your 3rd house opposes Saturn in your 9th house. A serious conversation may take place with a teacher, mentor, supervisor, government representative, or someone whose decision influences your future. If you're handling legal matters, documents, or education, be especially thorough. Double-check information and follow every requirement carefully. In your personal life, this aspect may reveal differing visions for the future. Rather than trying to convince one another who's right, focus on discovering the values you truly share. September 22. Mercury in your 3rd house forms a sextile to Jupiter in your 1st house. A conversation, meeting, or piece of new information may open a door you hadn't even noticed before. Jupiter strengthens your confidence and helps you make an excellent impression on others. This makes it an outstanding time for negotiations, public speaking, consultations, teaching, presentations, and any project where communication plays a central role. Over the next few days, you may receive an offer that expands your professional opportunities or introduces you to someone who becomes an important connection. It's also an excellent time to begin a course of study, complete paperwork, launch a marketing campaign, grow your social media presence, or continue developing your personal brand. September 23. The Sun enters Libra and your 3rd house. After several weeks focused on finances and material stability, life begins moving at a much faster pace. Your calendar fills with meetings, conversations, short trips, negotiations, networking, and new connections. You'll likely feel inspired to learn, teach, write, share your knowledge, or engage more actively with your audience. September may also bring important developments involving siblings, relatives, neighbors, or people you interact with regularly. If your work involves education, communication, marketing, sales, consulting, or publishing, an especially productive period now begins. September 26, full moon in Aries in your ninth house. This full moon illuminates your ninth house, bringing an important chapter involving education, travel, legal matters, publishing, and your personal philosophy to completion. You'll gain much greater clarity about the direction that truly deserves your energy. A course of study may conclude. You could complete an exam, finalize important documents, receive a visa or legal approval, move forward with an international project, or make a significant decision about future travel. You may even choose an entirely new direction for your professional development, or begin studying a completely different field. Because this full moon activates the 3rd to 9th house axis, information becomes especially significant. One conversation, one document, or one piece of news has the power to reshape your plans for the months ahead. At nearly the same time, the Sun in your 3rd house opposes Neptune in your 9th house, while forming a harmonious trine to Pluto in your 7th house. The opposition to Neptune asks you to be especially careful with legal matters, education, travel, and information arriving from distant places. If an opportunity seems almost too perfect, take the time to verify every detail. Meanwhile, Pluto's trine helps you recognize the people with whom you can build truly meaningful, long-term partnerships. The end of September may become the moment when conversations finally evolve into real commitments. September 27 to 28, before changing signs, Mars travels through the final degrees of Cancer in your 12th house, forming a square to Chiron in your 9th house. The final days before your next chapter may bring moments of inner uncertainty. You may question whether you know enough, whether your project is truly ready, or whether it's wiser to postpone an important decision. However, this aspect isn't telling you to abandon new opportunities. Instead, it's encouraging you to release the inner limitations that have been holding you back. Then, on September 28, Mars enters Leo and your 1st house. This is one of the most important astrological events of the month. A brand new 2-year Mars cycle begins. Your motivation returns, your confidence grows. You'll feel more decisive, more independent, and much more willing to take initiative. If the previous weeks were dedicated to preparation, now the period of real action begins. On the same day, the Sun in your 3rd house forms a trine to retrograde Uranus in your 11th house. An unexpected conversation, introduction, or opportunity may completely reshape your plans for the months ahead. You could join a new professional community, connect with inspiring like-minded people, or finally recognize that a project which once seemed too ambitious is actually within reach. September 29th, Mercury in your 3rd house forms a trine to the North Node in Aquarius and your 7th house. Conversations become especially meaningful. Someone you meet now could play an important role in your future. This is an excellent day for signing agreements, finding business partners, holding consultations, giving presentations, and discussing long-term plans. At the same time, Mercury opposes Chiron in your 9th house. You may realize it's time to reconsider a long-held opinion or acknowledge that your knowledge needs updating. Ironically, your willingness to change your perspective may become the very key that unlocks your next stage of growth. September 30th, Mercury enters Scorpio and your 4th house. Joining Venus there, Mercury brings additional focus to home, family, real estate, and emotional security. Important news may arrive regarding a move, renovations, property, or family matters. You may begin serious discussions about relocating, changing your living arrangements, or addressing issues involving relatives. Remember that Venus is still moving through its retrograde shadow. Because of that, it's wise not to treat the financial or family decisions made during the final days of September as completely final. Instead, gather information, evaluate your options carefully, and allow room for adjustments as events continue unfolding. September becomes a month of strengthening your financial foundation while preparing for an exciting new stage of personal growth. The new moon in your 2nd house launches an entirely new financial cycle and encourages you to see your professional abilities and your own value in a completely different light. The full moon in your 9th house brings closure to an important chapter involving education, travel, and your search for a broader vision of your future. Jupiter continues moving through your sign, steadily opening new opportunities for growth, confidence, and self-realization. Mars entering Leo at the very end of the month becomes the symbolic starting point of an entirely new chapter, one where ideas and plans begin transforming into decisive action. Meanwhile, Venus begins a long process of reevaluating your relationship with home, family, and personal values. Many of September's decisions will continue evolving throughout the fall, so your goal now isn't to force final answers. Instead, focus on recognizing the direction life is leading you. By the end of the month, you'll have much greater clarity about what you truly want to build over the coming years, which knowledge deserves your investment, which relationships deserve your commitment, where your energy belongs, and which goals can become the strongest foundation for your future. May September help you discover a deeper sense of confidence, recognize exciting new possibilities, and take your first steady steps toward the next chapter that's already beginning to unfold. Have a wonderful September, dear Leos. And if you enjoyed this forecast, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.